Good morning, world. I am Judy, your web based therapist, making therapy accessible and convenient for our clients in Florida and New York, and of course, sharing information worldwide. Today is not a regular post day. I actually didn't have plans or any intentions to post today, but I've been having a couple conversations about something that made me think maybe I should do a quick video chat. This wasn't scheduled. There was no real plan. It's just that I wanted to talk about this and I didn't feel like waiting. So here we are. And what we're talking about is this post COVID depression. It's not an official thing, but it is something that I've been noticing a lot. Initially, when I first started noticing it, I thought it was something that seemed a lot more common in young adults and teenagers. It's people who have had COVID who tend to be who start to experience depressive symptoms or who develop depression after they recover from COVID. um, I have there's I've seen a couple things talking about it, but not as much as I would have liked to see. Not enough for me to say, okay, this is a big thing. But I first started to notice it in my own clients when I would notice that after they've had COVID, sometimes clients would either have l- um, a higher grade depression, or a client who didn't even have COVID before would now start presenting with depressive symptoms. So that's why I first started looking at it. But lately it seems like I'm realizing even clients, one even older clients, adults, are showing and experiencing those depressive symptoms. And there are also uh, whether or not they have a history of depression. So that's why today I want to talk about it a little bit. The first thing I want to talk about is what could be causing it. Again, there has not been that much research done, but just on the basic stuff that is available, there are two things that can contribute to a post-COVID depression. First being um, your body or your immune system's response to the virus or reaction to the virus that could easily cause. And I did see some studies showing the science behind it, the how it does impact your how the virus or contracting the virus can impact your mental health. The other part of it, however, is the stress of, one, we're already in the middle of this pandemic and we're already experiencing all that is this pandemic. But a lot of people, once they contract COVID, there's the stress of, now I am sick, I have this what do you call it, I have this virus, and the of course the disease that goes with it. And then there is the isolation. Many people experience a great deal of isolation because when you're in, whether or not you're able to leave your house or to have your full house to wait out your disease, or you're confined to a room. A person who experiences COVID and lives in a home with other people, a lot of times they end up having to quarantine in a specific room or in a specific side of the house. I've known people that have had to quarantine in a room of the house while the rest of the family uses the rest of the house. I've known people who've had to quarantine in a section of the house while the rest of the family is residing in the rest of the house. So there are different levels of isolation, and this is on top of not being able to go out, being taken away from your everyday environment, your everyday action, your everyday activities, your everyday engagement, your life, really. So that's a second reason that it can contribute. Um, what is happening? One of the things that's happening is that when people are experiencing or they when people start experiencing depressive symptoms, a lot of times don't recognize the symptoms, because some of the depressive symptoms they end up experiencing can look similar to what they experienced when they had COVID. For instance, someone especially if you were quarantining or isolated to a room in a house. Most people spent the whole day or most of the day just sleeping or being in isolation. So when they as they get past the COVID and they start experiencing that ti excessive tiredness, that's oversleeping, the all these things that lack of energy, all these things are often associated with having COVID, but they can be the symptoms of depression that we are not noticing, or that people are thinking, oh, it's just still the COVID happening, but it's not just still the COVID happening. Sometimes it is a depression that is starting, but you don't, it looks like COVID. So what happens is if the depression is kind of showing smaller signs and gradually coming in and you're not noticing it and you're not doing anything about it, it's easy for it to continue to blossom until it grows into something that lasts a longer range depression, a more intense depression, a depression that can even get to the state of being a clinical depression. So it's important that one thing that I've been doing is making sure that even not just my clients, just other people in my life who have had COVID, making sure that they're aware that this thing is out there, that this thing does exist, because most people don't. Even just today, I reached out to a couple of friends and I was telling them, hey, just be mindful of this, pay attention to that. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Someone was telling me about a different post COVID, I think it was like COVID feet or COVID something that someone else told her about, but she hadn't heard, she didn't realize that the whole COVID depression thing was happening, because it's not something we're talking about. But even though it is not being talked about, it is happening. A lot of people are experiencing the symptoms and they don't realize what to do about it. Which brings me to, what can you do? One of the things that is happening is that people are actually going to their doctors, and if the doctor realizes that, hey, this person is experiencing depression, they may prescribe an antidepressant. And many of us, especially many of us, have difficulty with accepting, oh, the antidepressant, so nothing's wrong with me, I'm not crazy. So it's not that you're crazy, it's not that something is wrong with you. It's just that you need help. Just as you took all those things that you took for the COVID, take the antidepressant to help you get back to your life. Because one of the things that helps you get back, work your way out of depression, is getting back into life and getting back into your normal life. But if you're too tired, too drained, too disinterested, too disengaged, you just don't feel like doing anything. It's hard to get back to normal when that is your state. So that's why I tell people, hey, if you're experiencing depressive symptoms, reach out to your doctor. They can prescribe an antidepressant. You don't necessarily have it's If you're on an antidepressant today, it doesn't mean that you're going to forever be on antidepressants. It just means that for the moment, at this time, you need that help. And so you're using that assistance. You can use it for a few weeks if that's what it takes to get you back to your norm, or you can use it for a few months if that's what you need. But don't be so quick to dismiss it. Just realize that it's there and it's available. Um, there's always counseling. You can always um, use therapy, and I encourage it. Right now, I again, dear EAP people, please send me my referral check, because I keep sending people to you. E- most people who have a job have access to an employee assistance program, which will pay for a few sessions to help you work with a therapist. At the very least, working with a therapist can help you learn some skills, help you get some tools to help you manage the depression, help you get some tools to help you develop some tools to help you to cope with the depression, to help you do take the steps necessary to move forward, to take the steps necessary to do whatever it is that you need to do to get back into your regular life. So take the time if you're noticing um, that you've had your negative test and that you're supposed to be back at work, but for whatever reason it's a dread to get out of work. There are a lot of or not get out of work, but get out of bed. There are a lot of reasons that there are a lot of post-COVID symptoms that make life still difficult for people even after they've had COVID. But certain things are not supposed to stay that long, like being low energy is one post-COVID symptom, but low energy is also a depressive symptom. So if you're noticing that, ask questions, try to figure out what is actually going on with you. um all the body aches, you're so during COVID, a lot of people are so used to having all these body aches that they just figure that, oh, all this aching is just part of or a remnant of the disease, but it might not be. It may be depression. So take the time and investigate, talk, reach out, talk to someone. What else do I need to tell you? Diet. Diet is one of the best treatments or one of the best tools to help manage depression. Making sure that you're eating healthy. After COVID, many people don't have the appetite that they used to have, but it's important that you're making sure that you're nourishing your body, that you're feeding your body what it needs um, in order to continue the healing process, and in order to maintain what it needs to maintain, uh, in order to have the energy that it needs to maintain and to do what you're asking of it. So make sure that you're getting that diet on even, yeah, just make sure your diet is on point, or at least better than, just because when you don't have energy, it's hard to say, I'm going to cook a full healthy meal. But do what you can, even if you're using healthy snacks. I like healthy snacks because especially for people who don't have a good, who don't have a, who what do you call it, especially for people who don't have an appetite. If you don't feel like eating, the last thing you want to do is just sit there and eat a full healthy meal that you really don't feel like eating. Healthy snacks, things like fruits and vegetables and things that you can keep at your desk, things that you can keep nearby, where while you're working you reach for an apple, you reach for some whatever your raw vegetable of choices. Just keep some of these around, that way you can have access to them, so that your body still gets the nutrition that it needs, it still gets the fuel that it needs, but you don't have to put in as much work with it. Exercise, of course, if you've watched my channel, exercise is one of my favorites. I don't know why my one hair keeps going this way. um, Exercise is one of my favorite methods for helping with depression. Um, from the endorphins, from the movement, from the getting out, from the not allowing you to sit in the room the whole day. Exercise has a lot of benefits and it helps. And if you can, I know that many of us have a full work day that is between 9 and 5, and you don't necessarily always have time to go to the gym or go work out during the day. Find a way to get a little bit of exercise during the day, meaning that if you can step outside and go for a walk at lunch, take 10 minutes and be outside and get a little bit of sun, because that is one of those things that does help with depression sometimes. If you can just get out and get a little bit of sun, maybe walking for 5 minutes, walking for 10 minutes, walking for 15 minutes while you have a little break at work. Take the time and do those things because they help with that. Um, but one thing I tell people: don't hesitate to ask for help. Right now, we're all in this together. We've been aware of or I guess the pandemic depression, the general pandemic depression, which is where a lot of us were experiencing issues because we were dealing with this thing and we were isolated and we like, I mean, I miss museums. I need to go to a museum. But many of us were experiencing issues, but it's yeah, there that is one thing. Depression has been higher since the beginning of the pandemic. Depression and anxiety has been higher. They've been higher in the general public, but now we're noticing that it this post post COVID depression I have been noticing, and I will continue to do more research on it too, and maybe hopefully I can. Hey, NIH, if you can hear me, maybe I'll get some funding and action and do an actual study on that. But it is something that I'm thinking about, something where I would like to get more information on. However, until we can get the additional information, I just want to make sure that people are aware of it. So if you have had COVID yourself, pay attention to your behaviors. Notice how, yes, after COVID, sometimes things just seem different. It may seem a little weirder. It may seem a little off. And part of it is, yeah, you just spent a week in bed, or you just spent a week having COVID, or hopefully just a few days. But pay attention to your behaviors. If you notice that you're doing things that are not part of your norm, such as even though you're no longer in quarantine, you're still staying in bed or laying on the couch all day, or you go to work, you drag yourself to work, and then afterwards, all you have the energy to do is just sit on the couch and watch TV until you roll into your bed and roll into your room and go to sleep. That if that is not what you were doing pre-COVID, you may want to look at, okay, is this a symptom? One of the Some of the other stuff that they mentioned was suicidal thoughts that d- some people have experienced. So if you were not dealing with those things prior to COVID and you're noticing that you're having them now, talk to someone, reach out, get some help. Anxiety is also high after it has also been noted to be a little bit higher. Just one of the things that I read did mention that having COVID does or may appear to be, they weren't really clear on their designation of what it was, but that people who had COVID does expose you, I guess I would say, to a greater susceptibility to mental health issues. And this does not mean that you're going to have for the rest of your life, have mental health issues. It just means that at the moment, for the time being, during the next few weeks or maybe few months, I don't know how long it lasts. I have not studied it long and I have not paid attention long enough to notice that what is happening, how long it's lasting. But just keep an eye out. If you know people, especially if you have had young adults in your life, teenagers, young adults who have had COVID, definitely keep paying attention to their behaviors. Notice if things are different or what is different, and ask questions. I always tell people, you cannot talk someone into being depressed. You cannot talk someone into being suicidal just by asking someone how they're feeling, if they're experiencing symptoms, just asking. And if you notice a behavior, rather and just point out, hey, I noticed that you haven't left your room for 3 days. Hey, I noticed that you seem a little bit more irritable. That's one of those things that is a depression symptom of depression that often does not get noticed or does not get identified, because when a person is more irritable, we think of it as more of this person as being anything but a child of God. But a lot of times that irritability, that snappy, that attitudey behavior that you're seeing is more a result or more a symptom of depression. So if you're noticing those things in your child, or your a young adult in your life after they've had COVID, pay attention to that. Bring that to their attention, because they probably do not realize that. Discuss it with their doctor, because they may be experiencing or displaying symptoms of depression and you don't realize that. So if you notice these, if you have, check on your teenagers. I've been saying this all, or for the past 2 weeks since the pandemic started. Your teenagers, young adults, they're not okay. They're still not okay. I know I said it in 2020, and maybe I haven't said it enough in 2021. They haven't been okay. They're still not okay. So make sure that you're checking on them. Make sure that you're asking the questions. If you have a concern about a child, about a person in your life, ask them, "Hey, what is going on? How are you feeling? What if you're noticing that they are isolating more than pandemic isolation?" Bring that up. Bring that up. See what is going on with them. That way, if there's anything that you can do, you can take the opportunity to do it. What can you do for someone else? First, you can ask question. Ask question. If they are experiencing something and you ask a question, you may be the one. You may, because the other thing is, when people are experiencing these issues, a lot of time they're so busy thinking something is wrong with me. I am broken. I have a problem. I need to hide this. A lot of times people are not opening up. People are not speaking. People are not speaking up. They're not sharing. They're not letting people know, letting the people in their lives know that, hey, this is going on with me. So it's important that the people who care about them are asking questions, because it's when you ask questions that you people realize that, oh, okay, I'm not alone in this. One person that I know that I reached out to and I asked, and her response was, oh yeah, this has been happening to me and I didn't know what, I thought it was me. People always think, especially when it is something that is new, something is not that is not being discussed, something that is not being addressed, they definitely think it is them. So it's important that if for any reason you think that, or even if you know, like, there are people that I over the last few days I've reached out to people who are just people in my circle, because over the last I don't know, the last couple of months, a whole lot of people that I know personally, friends, family, have had COVID. So I've reached out to them. Hey, how are you? What is going on? And I will tell them that I have, this is what I have noticed, and making sure that they are aware of it. So if you know people that have had COVID, make sure that they're aware that yes, COVID depression is a thing and it is out there, and it is something that they just need to be attentive to. It does not mean that they're going to get it. Not every person who has had COVID ends up with depression. A lot of the people that I know who've had COVID did not experience a post COVID depression. But unfortunately, a lot of the people I know who have had COVID did experience a post COVID depression. Another thing that can, um, I guess, contribute or exacerbate the situation is if you were already in a stressful situation, or maybe you are coming back from, here you are, just you beat COVID and now you got to go back to work, and this to a stressful situation, or you have to get back into your regular life that is or was already a stressful situation. If your stress level was already elevated, that can make the situation worse. That can sometimes make you a little bit more susceptible. So if you have these things going on in your life, just pay attention. It doesn't mean that you will have it. It doesn't mean that you're going to get it. It just means that when you are aware that, hey, this is a thing, if you see symptoms, then you're more likely to say, okay, this is what's happening. I've heard of this. I know this exists, and then you can take the steps to deal with it, to address it, so that you don't let it become, 2 or 3 months later, after you've been suffering from depression for 3 months, now you're finally starting to working your way to getting help. So just make sure that you're paying attention for yourself as well as for the people in your life who may have had COVID, or who may be at the moment. I wanted this to be super quick, and let me see. It looks like I've been talking for almost 24 minutes, so I'm gonna wrap it up. And just remember, anytime you see that your behavior is different from what you're used to it being, anytime you notice that things are, if things just feel a little bit off, question it. If things just feel a little bit out of the norm, a little bit different, a little bit unusual, question it. Talk to your doctor. Talk to other people, because that's another thing that we do. We are so busy keeping it to ourselves that we forget that other people right there next to us, right, people right there in the, sometimes people in the same home with you are hiding the same issue from them that you are hiding from you, that you are hiding from them. So talk to the people in your life. Talk to your confident. Talk to your what do you call it? Your trusted people. If something is happening, whether it's a good friend that you're talking to or you're talking to a professional, make sure that you're getting a little bit of help, because there is a lot of it out there. Your EAPs, please start paying me a retainer. Your EAPs are there, and they're providing services, and they're approving a lot more sessions than they used to. Many people have insurance, and one thing I've noticed is that out of pocket max for insurances seem to be, they are like I know that my insurance this year, the out of pocket max is a little bit lower than it was before. So looking at those things, and your co EAPs use the same not EAPs. Counseling use the same copays that your specialists use. So if you have health insurance, reach out to your health insurance. If you're in school, your school, by school I mean college or university, most of them have a counseling center, especially if they have counseling programs. If you're in school, make sure you reach out to them and see what options they have and see what they have to offer, because they have services. I swear, the services are there. The options, the tools, the resources are there. It's just that many of us are not using them because many of us don't know that it is there. So if you get a moment, if you feel that, if you feel that something's off, ask. If you're noticing that something is off with a friend, with a child, with a relative, with anybody in your life, ask. Sometimes they don't know, that they don't understand what is going on, and that's an even worse feeling, when you're stressing, you're hurting, but you feel that it is your, something is wrong with you, and you can't, it's so bad that you can't tell other people, you have to keep it this dirty little secret. So you have depression with the weight of carrying a dirty little secret on top of it. So just, if you know someone who may be experiencing stress, reach out, ask them how they are doing, check on them. Don't text them because you can't hear a whimpering little voice of a person who just sounds like they're beaten and they're over it when you're texting, because it's very easy to just grab your phone and say, I am doing great. And what is it, the big smiley face emoji, right? But you don't know what is behind the smiley face emoji. Talk to people. You don't have to have 20-minute conversation. You can have a 5-minute conversation with people. I am People who know me will tell you that, yes, Judy is the person that calls. I would rather have a 3-minute conversation with you than sitting there for 30 minutes texting you what could have been said in 3 minutes. So talk to people, because it's a lot easier. You're more likely to find out, to realize, to notice that something is going on when you're having an actual conversation with a person. So talk to people so that yeah, talk to people, make those phone calls. I know we're still maintaining social distance, but the people that you are still, I guess, um, and physically interacting with, stop, but get together with them to go for a walk in the park, go do something. That way you can kind of get an opportunity to check on people, and that is a great way to check on people, by the way. Inviting them to do something. No, don't invite. You may not want to invite them to go to, I don't know, restaurants and stuff like that, but inviting someone to go for a walk in the park, you'll be able to notice. I shared a video before. I'll see if I could post it about covert what is I think I called it um signs that signs uncommon signs of depression, that are ways to tell that someone's depressed, or that are not exactly the most common things that we know of. So just pay attention. If you think someone is struggling, just make sure that you are talking. And if you know someone who's had COVID, just as you checked on them when they had COVID to make sure to see how they were doing, to make sure that they were doing good, check on them now to see how they are doing post COVID. How are they adjusting? One of the stresses, especially for the young adults and adolescents that may be in school, a lot of times during COVID, they're not able to, while they're sick, they're not able to do the work. So when they come back, they have mountains of work that they have to catch up on, while also keeping up with the new work. So imagine you just got through one of the worst illnesses you've ever had. Your body's still recovering. And on top of everything you have to do, you have a week or two. I actually know someone who at the moment has maybe 2, almost 3 weeks worth of schoolwork that she needs to catch up on, because she was out of school for about 2.5 weeks. That is stress. That gets that is very overwhelming. That can contribute to a lot more stuff. So make sure, and if you people going back to work after being out for maybe a couple of weeks, they experience the same thing. That pile of work that was on your desk before you left for COVID is still on your desk when you come back, with a whole bunch more stuff that people dropped and dropped and handed, or wanted to hand to you, but you weren't there. So make sure that you're checking on people after you know they have healed or they have recovered from COVID, because re- recovering from the virus is only the first part of it. For many people, there is a second wave of post COVID issues, including this post COVID depression that I have been noticing that people have to contend with. And many of us are not used to that. And our society has not exactly been the most mental health welcoming. So it's not always going to, people are not always responding in the best way. So please make sure that you're checking on your friends, you're checking on your kids, you're checking on your parents, you're checking on the people in your life that who have had COVID, and just seeing what is going on and making sure that they are doing well. And if you can share, what I'll do is I'll link a few of the videos that I've posted with how you can support other people. That way, if you know someone, if you want to have the conversation, I actually have a video about that too. That way you can have some resources if you are going to have a conversation with other people. Okay, I think I have gone way longer than I intended to go, so I'm going to kind of call it a day. I see a couple people, but since no one has said hi, I'm guessing that there is no question. There are no questions. I'm trying to wait for this. I think there's a 3 to 10 seconds delay. I don't know how long it really is. All right. So since I don't see any questions coming through, I'm going to call it a day. Thank you so much for supporting. Thank you so much for watching. If you can please do me the favor of sharing this video, because COVID depression is something that a lot of people do not realize is happening. A lot of people think that they are experiencing by themselves, that it is because something is wrong with them that they're experiencing this. So if you if you could please do me the favor of sharing it, because I want to make sure that people are aware that this is a thing, so that they are taking care and taking the steps necessary to do something about it. So thank you. And that is all we have for today. Good morning. Oh, how's it go? Good morning. No, good morning, world. Have an awesome day. Okay.